We've got some breaking news for you. It's a tragic story. A fire at a hospital in Pakistan has left at least 14 newborn babies dead. We're hearing that the blaze broke out at a neonatal intensive care unit in one of Pakistan's largest government hospitals in Islamabad. The families who lost babies have gathered outside the building. They're clearly in shock and disbelief. The health minister has told local media that the infants were in incubators or hooked up to oxygen. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has expressed deep sorrow and has ordered an immediate inquiry. An initial fact-finding report is due in 24 hours. But we're going to get some of the latest information for you from Kiran Butt. She's a Pakistan-based journalist who was just at the hospital. Kiran, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us what you saw when you were there at the hospital? How extensive is the damage?
Actually, it was quite early when I went. I had no idea that the fire has created such havoc there. It was, 6:45, the exact time at what the fire has broken out at the hospital. And I was there around 8:30 when the first news came. And the scenes were very tragic. The parents were, they were they were grieving. There was a tragic scenes. The woman you are showing right now on the screen, she just had a C-section 2 days ago, and she had no idea that where her baby is and how is she going to get the next information that if there are some remainings, but if they could survive if they could manage to get the body even out. So I think I don't have enough words to explain the scene that I saw there. And since then, we are trying to make a sense of the scene, that what has happened. There is media outside. Just, I think, in half an hour ago, the executive director came out and he spoke to the local media and explained the scene that, there was a little bit construction going on in that section of the hospital where the air conditioner exploded. But the questions that were asked by the media were quite, straightforward, that why the rescue teams could not arrive in time at the scene. So maybe these lives could have been saved. But the problem is that babies were in like you said, they were in incubators, and it was very hard to move them outside of that room. And then again, we are talking about infants who could not help themselves. So I think if the rescue fire brigade or rescue 1122 have arrived a little bit earlier, so the damage could have been controlled.
So, Kiran, there's a lot of information that is coming out right now, but let's just go through this so we know what happened. So you said that something exploded, so an air conditioning unit exploded. Is that what we know so far as being the reason that this fire broke out?
So there are two accounts that we have gotten so far. One is that there was a short circuit. The very first initial report that came out from the hospital, it was that there was a short circuit in some wires in the in that department, and they could not assess that what has happened. But later on, another official said that there was a little bit construction going on, and there was an air conditioning setup that exploded, and with the explosion, all those windows were shattered, and the fire, spread just once, and then they got hold of it. But after 2 hours, the executive director who came out and said that, we could not right now give the final answer that what caused it, because the investigation is going on. Until unless the law enforcement agencies complete their investigation and get to the root cause of the fire, we cannot give the final answer.
OK, you also talked about how quickly the firefighting crews got to the hospital. Do we know how long it took them to reach the hospital and how long it took them to get the fire under control?
According to the people who were on the ground, I think they started calling the rescue 1122 around 7 or 7:15, but it took a little bit of 40-45 minutes, I guess, to for them to reach there, and they got there by 8:30 or 8:15.
And you said that the fire
That's
broke
the
out at 6:45 a.m. So we're talking
Yes,
about an
absolutely.
hour and a half of uncontrolled burning until the
Absolutely.
firefighters got there.
Yeah, because it was quite early, and today is another important day that is being observed in Pakistan. That's Bara Rabiul Awwal and Eid Miladun Nabi. Already, these law enforcement agencies are, usually during these religious festivals, they are on high alert, or they have different stations to be at duty. It's Sunday also. So I think a little bit, if they could have reached faster there, the damage could have been controlled. But according to executive director, they already tried to contain the fire through using the fire extinguishers. But because the infants were hooked to oxygen, and there were a lot of oxygen cylinders present in that room, so they could not contain the fire immediately. So till the fire brigade reached, a lot of damage had been done.
I want to play two sound bites, both from parents who lost their babies in this fire. Let's take a listen.
The police aren't listening to us. They're saying they will act tough.
The rescue services came 2 hours later. The police came 4 hours later. What have they come here to do? Enjoy themselves? I'd like to know how senior officials would react if they had lost a child.
I can't imagine their grief and sorrow. The Prime Minister has spoken out, expressing his grief and sorrow. He's calling for an investigation. But are people going to be satisfied with this kind of response? I mean, given the pain we just heard there from those parents, I mean, how are people reacting to this event?
Yeah, you just play two of the videos, and the lady you have shown in the video, I like there should be no names, but she just gave birth 2 days ago through a C-section, and her pain is, I don't think that can be explained in words, that how she is trying to cope up with all of that's happening around her. And she is asking that they are not even telling them that if they were able to make their babies' bodies even safe, if they can hand over a leftover, the parts or the flesh of the baby. So it was like tragic moment when they were speaking. They are out of anger or helplessness, that they could not save their babies, because one baby has only been rescued out of 15 or 16. We do not have the exact numbers, because the nurse who came out and spoke all the names, said that there were 15 babies and one survived, one they were able to rescue, and 14 others have passed away. So this is like that type of reporting that we usually do in our career, where we also are still looking for the words to explain what parents are going through.
This is obviously the individual grief of each of these parents, as you say, is very, very difficult to express. What about sort of a social reaction, society as a whole? Because there have been several hospital fires in Pakistan. There's also been a string of deadly fires in shopping centres, in factories. Why are fires so frequent in Pakistan, and how do people react when this happens over and again?
If we talk about this specific incident, so this is a public hospital, and public hospitals are often like under resourced or overburdened. They take a lot of patients, but they do not have that kind of capacity building, resources, or they do not have those kind of firefighting equipments ready, that they can use it properly. Sometimes we have seen that they do some trainings of the nurse or staffs or doctors, that how to fight against some crisis. But in such moments, we do not even see that people are trained enough to use fire extinguisher. They don't know how to open it. There is a clip, and then you have to put such much pressure on
so
that.
you're saying the
then
basic safety
tool will
requirements are
work.
not being filled. The basic safety requirements of not even knowing how to use a fire extinguisher are not being fulfilled.
Absolutely, because you need a proper training to get to know that how this tool is going to work. If you have to put oxygen mask onto somebody, or you have to cover up somebody from the fire, and how to
So
use
you're
these
saying that
tools. I don't think that they are much trained.
people who work in hospitals don't have this training?
Usually they do, like the like executives, they try to get these trainings for the nurses and the doctors, but I don't think that they get to practice it a lot, that they get their hands on that. And then there is a lot of population that goes to these public hospitals. They're already overcrowded, overburdened, and they don't get that type of resources. But here we are talking about PIMS in Islamabad, in capital, which is like one of the biggest hospital right now in capital city. Still, there was a lack of first aid, kit that could save the patients in these situations. The nurses, according to the eyewitnesses I spoke with, they said the nurses was not on station, and it was quite early morning, and everybody just starting their day, and they could not reach out to anyone that okay, something has happened. There were no doctors, there were no male or female staff was present on the floor at that time. So parents are angry on that. First, they could not get the information that if anyone could save their babies, or they were able to save a little bit of their children, that where are they. And then one parent who just had one slip now, that this is my baby's details, her name, her age, she was born 2 days ago, and now they are not even telling me that if I can get any information, if she is alive or she is dead or she was burned or she's injured. So these type of mismanagement creates more crisis.
It
And
sounds
if
like...
you were able to...
Go ahead.
Sorry. So like it creates more anger into those people who are already grieving, and lack of information create more confusion. Now they do not even know that they have clearly said that these 14 babies have passed away, and there is no one who is survived or a little bit of injured. If they took 3 hours to get these babies to some other hospital, or where there are, if somebody was injured and they were not able to save the injured babies, but it's just one number that 14 infants have died.
It sounds like there's a whole raft of things that just went very wrong here. Are there any consequences when a deadly fire like this breaks out? I mean, will the victims' families get any compensation?
Prime Minister has announced an inquiry, and he said that he wants a quick report in 24 hours that what has happened and who is responsible. And strict actions will be taken against the people who will be, found responsible in that investigation. So I think we have to wait for next. Already it's 2 p.m., almost 1:30 p.m. in Islamabad here. So we have to wait a little bit more for further investigations to take place, and the result of that investigation, that who was responsible for security. And in this situation, a lot of other information start coming out, that the gates were not opened at the time, the rescue could not enter into that building at time, in time, and there was no security staff present, or there was nobody from the hospital staff present who could assist the rescue operations and tell them, okay, this is the place that has happened. So all of this detail will start coming later in the evening, and I think then Prime Minister that gave a very strong reaction to it. And right now our foreign minister has also tweeted that anyone who will be found responsible in the investigation, they will take a strict action against them.
So Kiran, can you imagine that this particular fire, this particular tragedy which killed so many young children, might actually trigger a change in Pakistan's safety laws and regulations?
I hope that this change everything in the hospitals, especially in the hospitals, because like I said, that we're talking about infants who were not able to move and they could not save themselves. If the situation was a little bit different, that it was not the gynae ward or something else, so we could have seen, people could save themselves, but we're talking about babies. So I think this should trigger everybody to think that, we have to give a little bit more importance to those areas that need, better resources, better security infrastructure, better fire extinguishers, better possibilities, and better training for the staff to deal with such crisis. So I hope that as the Prime Minister has said, that strict action will be taken against people who will will be found responsible in the investigation report. And I think if we can hope that this triggers something.
Journalist Kiran Butt in Pakistan. Thank you so much, Kiran.
Thank you.
So what do you think needs to change? What needs to happen to prevent another tragedy like this from happening again? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm Anya Coopers-McKinnon. I'll see you next time.